Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line as he does every week on the show. It's salty tonight, and yes, it is tonight because we're recording on Thursday evening because of, circumstances and all that. Not being denied, ladies and gentlemen, it is Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com.
Oh, I will not be denied, especially when you're a part of it.
Oh, that's fun. I just got denied for something, and I don't want to talk about it yet because there might be a chance I can get it turned around, but we'll see. Anyways, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend. We've got like the stupidest movie idea ever that could be the awesomest, stupidest movie idea ever. Tell us about Cocaine Bear.
So I don't think it's the stupidest movie idea because I've seen stupider movies.
I thought of Snakes on the Plane when I saw it.
Okay, so that is exactly the movie that I would bring up in reference to Cocaine Bear because I think it works for the same reasons, and I think there's a very big difference as to why movies like this are actually succeeding to a certain part where Snakes on a Plane didn't.
Okay.
And basically, we'll start with talking about the movie itself. The only thing you really need to know to watch Cocaine Bear is in 1985, a bear once did cocaine in the woods. We don't know if it in the woods, but it did cocaine in the woods. And the whole thing was there was like an ex-narcotics agent like working for I think it was the Colombian drug cartels and just dumping product throughout like Tennessee, Georgia. And the bear that actually inspired this movie, nicknamed Pablo Escobar, in its posthumous career as a taxidermied figure, bear in the woods of Georgia, found cocaine, did it, and then I think 2 hours later died. That's basically all you need to know for the inspiration behind Cocaine Bear. This movie is not that story, but rather the story of a bear that goes on a rampage after doing cocaine. And there's everything from criminals that are involved in trying to recover said missing cocaine to a mom who's trying to get her daughter back because she ran off to the woods for a day to, law enforcement and authority figures that are just trying to keep it together and they're in the crosshairs.
It's so okay, on the surface, it just seems like, and yes, there are, does have a basis in reality, but like on the surface, it just seems like such a stupid idea. Bear does cocaine and then murders people.
It's only stupid if you don't like to have fun.
And I'm not saying I don't want to see it. I really want to see it, but if I'm going to put it on the level of, okay, here's great ideas for movies. It's in the same kind of categories, like I said, Snakes on a Plane or Sharknado or something like that.
I would even split hairs there and saying Sharknado. There was a vast difference between Sharknado and Snakes on a Plane, and Cocaine Bear plays closer to Snakes on a Plane. The people that made this movie know what this movie is.
Okay.
There is no illusion that they are setting out to make the next great American film or the next great cult cheesy film. Like, they're not going in there saying, we're just going to make it for, giggles and it's going to be fun and you're going to like it. It actually is 95 minutes of pure, uncut, nasty R-rated fun. And the only drawback I would say is there's one storyline. It's the one where Kerry Russell plays the mom trying to find her daughter and her daughter's friend in the woods. It's not as developed as the other stories that we've got going on in here. Because when the movie's focused on, you've got Alden Ehrenreich and O'Shea Jackson trying to get cocaine back on behalf of the late Ray Liotta. Well, this is one of his last films. And then you've got Isaiah Whitlock Jr. and Margot Martindale as a detective and a park ranger that are just sort of they're in the middle of all these dealings themselves. When the movie sort of focuses on those things, it feels like it's more interested in telling those stories, and the family elements just sort of thrown in as like that was the last one that came to the party, and it's supposed to add flavor because you see some like Steven Spielberg family drama in the middle of great big creature feature disaster influences.
All right,
but it's a fast enough movie and it's a fun enough movie that does not sink the ship at all. Elizabeth Banks did a fantastic job directing this, and writer Jimmy Warden just, again, as you had said before, this is not exactly a high concept idea. They took an oddball story in history, and I think Elizabeth Banks said it best when she said that she wanted to give that bear that actually died in real life, sort of like its own revenge movie. And that is all I needed to know to go into this movie with enthusiasm, and that is all. It pays off. The big difference between Cocaine Bear and Snakes on a Plane is we're at a point where people are now studios are now able to properly market these movies. They're able to put out this bonkers concept.
Yeah.
They're able to sell people the right way. Because when Snakes on a Plane came out, I think they relied too heavily on, oh, it's going to be a meme. And they played a little too closely to that, I guess. And also it was just the early days of the internet. Versus you can very easily now sell a movie like Cocaine Bear, or even Violent Night to a certain extent is a movie where you have concept, Die Hard with Santa. It's an easy concept, but it's also an easy concept to screw up if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, and you know what else? I mean, you look at the cast on this, and it's got a big cast where you think, okay, maybe people or actors and actresses are more willing to be a part of something like this nowadays than they were. Because how many people would have thought, if you go do a movie like this back in the early 2000s, that might wreck your career,
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, I'm going to keep mentioning it because it's the clearest example we have here, and you already invoked it. Snakes on a Plane. Samuel L. Jackson was only going to do the movie if they kept that title, because they were debating on changing it to Flight 121 or something. They were going to change it to a more action-heavy title.
Okay.
And Samuel L. Jackson was sold by the title Snakes on a Plane.
I saw that movie exactly one time, and that was enough for me. So.
I've seen it a couple times, but I still remember a friend of mine and I went to. That was when they started doing 10 p.m. screenings.
Oh.
First it was the midnight screenings for early screenings on a movie. Snakes on a Plane was one of the first ones that they did a 10 p.m. screening. So we're sitting there in the middle of, just as the movie's about to start, New Line Cinema logo comes up, and my friend Kyle yells, "Motherfucking Snakes on a motherfucking Plane!" And everybody erupts in laughter and clapping. And that just set the tone perfectly.
Can I give you one of those moments?
Oh, yes.
So It was, I want to say it was Saving Private Ryan. You know that moment at a theater when everything just goes dark and there's a second of just silence and darkness?
Yes.
My brother, and right at the perfect moment, everything goes silent. It couldn't have been any more perfect. And again, like you said, the place erupted in laughter.
Well, it's either now or after Omaha Beach, and I don't think you're going to want to hear this then.
Oh, God. We used to try and sneak beer, and we thought we were being so cool about it. We snuck a whole case of beer into Shrek 2, and, we were, waddling back and forth. And, that the movie people, we were half in the bag anyways, and that the movie people were like, oh, my God. But I'll never forget it. I went to sit down, and one of the beers, went down my pant leg and out the bottom of my pants, right? It hits the floor and it starts rolling, and it was one of the theaters that still had a flat bottom. It rolled all the way to the front, and a little while later we heard the guy in the front started drinking it.
Hey, you know what? You're sitting in the front row. You've earned that beer.
Oh, it was so funny. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. Okay, so Cocaine Bear's pretty rocking. Go see it this weekend. That's kind of it for movies coming out this weekend, correct?
Yeah, we're in sort of a limbo right now because Ant-Man came out last week. And then next week, we've got Creed 3 coming.
Oh, that looks awesome. And real quick, going back to Ant-Man real quick. And I know I put a lot of real quick...
You want to know if Janet and Kang did it, don't you?
No, it's not that. My wife and I, we went and saw it on Sunday last week.
Oh, nice.
And listen, I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was near as bad as Eternals, so I don't know why it's getting that much heat. You know what the only part of it that I question is?
What?
Kang is supposed to be the next big bad guy, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be, they got Kang Dynasty, the Avengers movie. They've got, he's in Loki, he's in this. You got the post-credit scene and all that. Kang can't beat Ant-Man.
Why do you say that?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I took from this movie.
Oh,
is the next big bad guy of the MCU can't beat Ant-Man.
One variant of Kang can't beat Ant-Man.
The worst, the Kangest of the Kang. Like it's kind of like the Rickest of the Ricks from Rick and Morty. Like he's the one they like banished away because he was doing too much.
Well,
and
yeah, but when you're
Ant-Man
dealing with
beat
that,
him.
Yeah, because when you're dealing with that sort of megalomaniacal personality, he's always going to screw up somehow. He's always going to get so emotional and feel so entitled that the right hero comes along, they're going to be able to subvert that.
That's just that was my only issue with the movie when I walked out of it. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it told a good story. MODOK was it wasn't awful, but it wasn't great either. It was one of those things where they're trying to force comedy into something, but I get it, kind of.
I think it worked.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
But it's definitely, this is a nice, like, it's a base hit. It's a base hit of Marvel movies. It's, especially coming off of how dour and long Wakanda Forever was, and especially how Phase 4 was all over the map. It was nice. It was kind of nice to go back to a Phase 1, Phase 2 Marvel movie, which has always been what Ant-Man has felt like since day one. I mean, that was one of the earliest Marvel movies in development with Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish writing the story, and Wright was going to direct. And then with all that business that went down, he left the project, and that delayed it even more, I think. But, when Ant-Man came out, it felt like a Phase 1 movie when we were in the middle of Phase 2, Phase 3. And at that point, everything was running on all cylinders, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this is fun, but
yeah,
I don't know. And then you get to this movie, and it's like, it's fun, and I've kind of missed it.
No, like I said, I didn't. Of the Ant-Man movies, I think this is the one I probably liked the most. I will say that.
Easy.
But like, I get to the end, and I'm like, Ant-Man can't, or Kang can't beat Ant-Man. And this is your next big bet.
I don't even think that's the Kang. I don't even think that's the Kangest of Kangs. I think that's just the Kang that pissed all the other Kangs off.
Maybe he's the Kangiest of the Kangs.
I think he's just the one that pissed all the others off and was like, "But what about this? It's all for me." And the other ones are like, "Dude, we're the Kang dynasty. We're all Kangs here, just trying to Kang out." You're the guy that's all like, "But what if it's for me?"
The scene at the end, the post-credit scenes, and if you haven't seen it, don't listen to this part, but there's certain parts and certain versions of Kang that I can't take serious. So I was like, boy.
The point. I think that's the point, because there's so many different types of Kang, ranging from, howling idiot to very erudite.
I get that. I understand that. It's just, there's one thing, and I'm going to compare it to Rick and Morty. There's one thing about seeing all the really different, crazy versions of Rick and Morty because it's a cartoon, and you kind of buy it because of that. To see a real life person playing all these different versions of themselves, it's like, I don't know. This is a little much for me. So, and baby legs.
If it was an actor that wasn't as talented as Jonathan Majors, I could see that. But considering how just brilliant that man is, I buy it.
Oh, he was great. Don't get me wrong. I will absolutely say that. I love the character. I just got to the end. I'm like, I can't beat Ant-Man. This should be interesting. So, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line to talk about movies and such. Over in the world of news and such, did you see The Last of Us? I know we didn't talk about that, but did you watch this week's episode?
Yes, I did.
You know what I think they're kind of falling into just a little bit?
What?
It's kind of the, at some part in the episode you go, what's the worst thing that can happen? And then it happens at the end.
I think that's just always been The Last of, well, I'm not totally sure, but just going by what I've seen of The Last of Us and played of it, I think that's just kind of, that's their bread and butter. And the way that they deal with that is fantastic, because from what it looks like, you go into, end of episode 2, Tess dies, Joel and Ellie are on the road. Episode 3, you get that lovely story between Frank and Bill.
Yep.
And now episode 6, I want to say we just got out of, Joel gets that stab to the gut, and we don't know what's going to happen. Episode 7 looks like it's going back to Ellie's past with the Fedra school, and then meeting Riley, and then getting bitten.
Steph, she goes, my wife who watches it with me, we watched the preview for the next episode. She goes, oh, great, flashback, so basically meaningless. It's like, maybe possibly, just a little bit. But
not meaningless. We're going to go back into Ellie's story and see how she became who she is. Like, what shaped this woman, or what shaped this young woman in childhood, again, through a Fedra school, through meeting someone that she, I believe, falls in love with, and then loses. I don't know how, but and again, we're gonna see her get bit. And
I'm gonna defend my wife's honor here, because the only part that I agree with her on that, because I understand what you're saying. Don't get me wrong, I really do. You do want to see, how she became the person and all that. But I feel like there are shows that do this, and I'm not. And if you ask me to make a list right now with a gun to my head, I'd be like, But it just seems like that's kind of the thing where it's like, hey, something dramatic really happens, like what happened to Joel at this episode. And then it's, hey, we're going to do a flashback episode and then pick up the story again.
Yeah, but that's great pacing. Because now we're still on the hook for what happened to Joel. Can I finish here? It's like I'm trying to make you a soup here. And just as I'm about to put the celery or whatever in, like just about to
You're putting really celery in soup?
You take a dump in it. You're dumping in my soup.
No, I'm not, because I can't squat over the pot when it's on the stove, Mike Reyes.
I'm going to dump the soup on you.
You make shitty soup anyways. It never has enough salt. It never has enough beef bouillon. Listen, you make soup.
You're never home for my soup.
Everybody stop. The parents are fighting.
I love this show. I love this show, and I'm a part of it.
I get that part of the flashback part, because I feel like a lot of shows do that where they'll have like three or four great episodes, cliffhanger, let's go back in time, see how somebody's makeup is. I don't want to say cliche, but I feel like it's a formula a lot of shows have been using lately.
It is definitely a formula.
And HBO uses it a lot.
Okay, I will grant you that. But the way that Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin use it feels like, again, since day one when they announced Craig Mazin was going to do this after Chernobyl, I was excited because he understands the horrors in real life, but also the everyday nature in a horror scenario. And he knows how to help play towards both of those. And that's what's really made the storytelling in this show fantastic. And it is definitely like the sort, like there's another show that HBO did called Station 11, where it goes back and forth in time with a viral apocalypse. And that is a good show. And it definitely follows the sort of, we're going to cut just at the right time to sort of fill in both ends of the spectrum here in terms of story. But Last of Us does it more effectively. And I like how they don't do it. They don't make it in a just like a boring sort of, oh, we're just going to do this because we have to. It's like, this is the right time to do that. Like, I thought they were actually going to open every episode with a cold open like they did the first two. And they didn't. And I'm glad that they didn't, because it's not, you don't always need to do that. They don't need to start off every episode with, well, here's the key piece of information that you're going to want to remember. Like, they use these tools effectively.
Yeah.
They don't just like Walking Dead it, where it's like, hey, for the next 11 seasons, you're going to get the same damn thing.
And listen, I'm not going to lie. I judge a lot of these shows against Walking Dead because I can't stand Walking Dead.
It's hard not to judge shows against The Walking Dead because it was this thing that lasted way longer than it should have. I mean, you want to talk about a zombie. The show itself lasted longer than it should have, and just got to a point where they switched showrunners so many times, and it was just I stopped watching after the first season, to be honest, because I started hearing about the problems that they were having and how they I think they fired Frank Darabont. You know, the director of The Shawshank Redemption is running your zombie show, and you want to argue with him, well, can we have fewer zombies? Or can we have more episodes where you only hear them outside and, like, don't see them? And that was it for me. And also after a point, reading the comics even got to the point where it's like, I think you should end this. And, well, the comics ended, but the show's still going strong with one of their movies now turned into a spinoff, and there's, like, 2 other spinoffs also coming, so zombies.
Zombies, yeah. Mike Reyes from
it's really hard not. Yeah.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line right now as we do talk about movies and such. Over in the world of news and whatnot, there's not a ton out there, but there was something kind of odd we wanted to cover because it delves into the world of TV on something I love, and it goes into your realm of movies of something you love. It's kind of one of those weird convergences of topics, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. And I have one of my friends over at Cinemablend to thank for this, because one of my editor friends, Adam, actually threw me a tweet. I forget who it came from, but they were saying that an actor who is currently on Star Trek Picard is not only interested in throwing his hat into the ring for the next James Bond, but he also could be a good candidate from what I hear. And I will let you take it away because I have not watched Picard yet.
Okay, so this is the weird thing about it. When you said that statement that, he could be a good James Bond, there was something that clicked in my head, and I'm like, oh my God, he really could. Like, he is a good... I want to see his height, because if I remember, he might not be as tall. So that might be an interesting thing. But no, like the facials and how he talked and the way he did action, from what we've seen so far, and how he treats the other characters with the confidence, that's where it was like, yeah, this dude could do that. So...
Yeah, so for everybody at home, the actor is Ed Speleers, who plays the character of Jack Crusher on Picard.
And tonight, and we're recording at 7 o'clock on Thursday night, Central Time, is when we're recording. I'm going to go home and watch the episode. It got spoiled for me a little bit ago, I'm not going to lie. And you know what's funny? I haven't even been searching out spoilers for Picard. I've been very good with this type of stuff, and I don't know why, but I've stumbled across these damn things. I'm like, oh, okay. Anyways, the spoiler for tonight, and I saw the scene. I ended up just watching it. It's you find out a little bit more about Jack Crusher.
Yeah.
And it's if you're following the story and use your brain a little bit, you go, okay, that makes sense. I know this. All of this kind of folds together really nicely. Now, where it's going from there, I don't know. But it's so much better than... What's funny about it is, so far, Season 3 is better than Season 2, which was better than Season 1. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I had heard from the same friend I mentioned earlier, I'd heard that basically Seasons 1 and 2 were okay.
Yeah.
And it got, like, this season was apparently an improvement. Oh, wow, he was on Downton Abbey, too. This guy's
really?
Definitely in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And Outlander, too.
But no, it's just like it got progressively better. Like they focused it more and more. I actually like Season 2. My buddy Justin hated Season 2 of Picard. Hated it. But no, this season so far, I mean, we're one episode in, and I know the spoiler of episode 2. And what's interesting about it, there's been some stuff coming out this week about some of the interviews that they've been doing about this show. And some people are going down the path of this might not be the end like people think. Like they said that Picard was going to be 3 seasons, right?
Well, yeah, and they keep advertising it as the final season.
Where it almost kind of seems like, you remember how they said that when... what's his name? Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Is it Anthony Mackie?
Yeah.
Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, right? I got their names right, didn't I?
Yeah.
I'm awesome.
Yeah, there's the guy. You get a treat. You're a good boy.
It's rare. It is rare. But anyways, it goes down the road of, you remember how they were saying, yeah, there's only going to be 1 season of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that, to where it might be, yes, there is the final season of Picard, but then it opens up into some other stuff.
Oh, yeah. They certainly haven't been shy about that, because even Jonathan Frakes was like, well, it might be the final Picard adventure, but the rest of the crew's still going to be around.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to the episode tonight. You know what? I'm kind of getting disappointed though in the world of Star Trek.
Oh, why is that?
Well, it's not. It's just something I noticed with one of the clips I watched today, where whenever they come up against a new power or something in these new series, everything from Strange New Worlds to Discovery and whatever, they'll come across these aliens or civilizations or organizations, like the Federation, that one they've never heard of before or whatever, and they are just severely overpowered compared to the Federation.
Huh.
We were talking about that cliche type stuff, like the formula stuff. That just I get that feeling every once in a while from the new Star Treks, and it doesn't matter if it's Picard, Strange New Worlds, or Discovery. It's like they come up across a new villain and they just completely outmatch whatever the Federation is doing. And listen, I get that you want to create your villains with like where they are a threat, but it always seems like there's one scene in this, and I'm like, really? Okay.
Super Klingons that we've never heard of before.
Yeah, you know what? It is kind of like that. It really, it's not a big spoiler or whatever, but it was in the scene I saw today. She used the captain of the Shriek it's the name of the ship. Like they start going through all the weapons they have, and she's like laughing and stuff. I don't know what I think of her just yet, but I haven't seen a lot of her, so I don't know whether to judge her as as I like her or don't like her. But there's a part where her ship all of a sudden like tractor beams another ship and throws it at another ship.
What?
And even the thing, they go, Picard says something to the effect of, what? Where it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, I guess we're the Federation and we explore and we've never seen this before.
No.
Yeah, so
That's
I don't
exciting.
know. Yeah, it's just it was just one of those moments like, really? Okay. So, I don't know. You know what it kind of seems like? It kind of seems like Dragon Ball Z when you first go up against the bad guy, and then the bad guy way outclasses it, so everybody goes and trains, and then all of a sudden gets a giant power-up to be able to fight the new bad guy. And it's just that thing over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm looking forward to it. And going back to the kid that plays Jack Crusher, you said going back to that, the moment you said, yeah, he should be James Bond or could be James Bond, it clicked in my head as, yeah, that's your dude. That's your dude right there.
I'm going to go back and watch his Downton Abbey performance now because it's been a while since I've watched the show.
Yeah.
But just looking at a photo of him as Jack Crusher, yeah, I can kind of see the look. I need to watch the performance now to just sort of sell myself further, but I definitely see it.
So, all right. Well, we'll leave it there for this week. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joins me every Friday on the show to talk about movies. Mike, you have yourself a great weekend, okay?
You too, man.
Denied!
Good one. Whoops. I will not be denied.